over, even help my boys out sometimes when we're in a bind. And there's people, that show up at the shop for other one, Chad and all of them. And that's what makes it. And the people that help you sponsor a little bit, it don't got to be that much, but it makes you feel good. And I think it makes my boys feel good. They both demo and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
That was like, I used to help Dave a lot on his cars. He'd work on the mechanic part of it, and I'd just start welding away on him, and weld for hours and hours on his car while he got him running and everything else wired up, and then...
On the bone stock cars?
Yeah, the bone stock.
Yeah, they're bone stock, all right.
Well, it was a long ways around the Chrysler trunk to weld it inside and out.
The funny thing was, we used to stick weld those suckers
together. Started with stick welding.
Before we bought wire welders.
Wow.
Yeah, stick welding. You lay a little bolt in there. And
Speaking of
I
that,
don't know why my dad never did use a welder, but I wasn't even allowed in the garage when he's welding. But he'd be welding in like shorts, no shirt, and like flip-flop shoes, and then you'd hear him cussing and throwing stuff. Well, you know how that was.
Oh, yeah.
But he probably didn't weld as much as you guys, obviously. But.
Oh, he welded more, I think.
but
He used to have those big chains coming around to hold the bumper on. Your dad did.
But speaking way back when my oldest two brothers did it, stuff, and we learned how to weld with oxyacetylene and clothes hangers and baling wire doing that. And then we moved to an arc welder, and then finally ended up doing the wire welder. But it's come a long ways of all the time it used to take compared to today.
I did that one night at Salina. C-Ray told me I couldn't run because my door got split in two in the middle. So we had a coat hanger and a torch over there welding the door back together so we could continue on for the night.
You done what it took.
We need to have a class where you teach some of these younger guys, and me, I've never done that, how to do that.
It's just like your HVAC
Brazing?
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
That's pretty cool.
You ever brazed?
What's that?
You ever brazed?
Yeah, I braise all the time at work.
Well,
same thing.
That's
But
harder
you're
to do
silver
than
soldering,
this.
aren't you?
Yeah.
That's silver solder. This is brazing.
Okay.
I mean, you're
I probably need a class in that. I don't know if you want to ask that. They could definitely, like Bobby said, the first time he saw Chad with a race car in a wreck, they're out there with sledgehammers, just like a derby car, trying to fix it like that, where normally racers would have loaded it up. So it's funny hearing that perspective.
Shane must have got into him. Is that how that worked?
No, he was working on Shane's car.
That's kind of what happened to Tyler's hobby stock a couple years ago. He had a bad wreck with it. He brought it home and the frame horn knocked the water pump off on one side. And he's like, "It's junk, Dad." He left, so I started cutting and moving stuff a little bit and pulling on it. Plated it up, and he come home and he said, "How the hell did you fix it like that?"
Did it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What was your guys' favorite track to run at, Ron?
I just run Salina and Abilene. I didn't run Abilene that much because I never had any real luck when I went over there. It had some mechanical issue usually.
Or like a family reunion of
Well, yeah.
Markley's?
It was. I mean, it was hard to drag all my family over there to compete against theirs. I mean, I had brother and two sisters. I mean, so it was kind of hard to compete against that.
Tom,
What's that?
favorite track?
I really liked Abilene and Salina, but a lot of them like Harrington, Clay Center we ran up, a couple of them small stuff like that. It was fun just to go to them. Clyde was a real fun one, probably a few too many beers a lot of times, but a lot of that was just the people, meeting the people, and I still like that, meeting different people and doing things. So there was a lot of good tracks back them days.
Before the show, we were talking about you racing running a car at Salina when C-Ray was doing the fair deal, and how much fun that was when C-Ray was doing
C-Ray and Hardy was a lot of fun. I mean, they might pick on you a little bit, but they still were fun in the back, and it was a lot of fun with them guys. And they used to do the Abilene Fair. They promoted that.
Yeah.
And Salina, both Abilene.
We did
and
both
Salina.
of them for a while. So.
So what was your favorite car? Did you ever get to that part?
Yeah.
What was it?
Mine was an Impala.
Impala?
Yeah.
Did you cheat it up?
No.
Oh,
We'll
Bucky.
get to that in a little bit.
We'll do that.
We'll get to
We'll
that.
get to that.
No, I only ran the Salina and Abilene. I did run the State Fair once, but But that was in front of the grandstands, and it's kind of different because it's not a regular arena.
No,
You go up and down, up and down.
That's, I always like running on them tracks because you could always work your way down, you know.
Well, yeah,
But
until your throttle breaks.
yeah,
Well, that's where
Except the only good thing was I turned my throttle all the way up, so I idle up and get run down.
I think Salina Speedway is one of the funner ones, you know, to run on. And
For sure.
the way you got to try to stay at the top, but you might end up the bottom. And I mean, especially back when you could park out back there with, you know, it just made it that much special, you know, of everybody being down there. But I like Salina Speedway to watch it. My boy's done there more than I ever did, but that's a pretty good track.
which I think some of them old school pictures that Ronnie sent of you or Dave was at the state fair. It looked like, and it looked like they had combines and cars. Did they run them the same night?
Yeah, they run all one day. They had
Yeah,
they had like two classes. They
They
had
had the open and then the qualifier,
The
where everybody
qualifier.
won demos, and then I think they had combine after that.
I see.
It was like a Tuesday afternoon too.
That's why they still do it. Because like, in the Chad promotes the, you know, Kansas State Fair one now for Sea Ray and them, and it seems like they want it over quick so they get people out riding rides and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I think it's always been like that. Which, like Curtis Coleman said, I remember my dad one year, they were paying like $1,000 just to show up at the combine. And I think that was that year that they had, like, I forget what it was. They know. It was like 80 combines or something. It was crazy. I need to get the video uploaded, but it was pretty neat. I mean, I was probably like 7 or 8, but I still kind of remember some of the combines they had.
Especially what it took to haul them combines too.
yeah.
You know, you didn't haul them on a car trailer, but it was a little slow and boring for me. I mean, one of them break down in front of you when you're watching, but it was cool, you know, something to see.
For sure. I guess usually I'm up to speed and have all the questions to these other guys, but like I said, I didn't even have my koozie, so my mind's not in the right place.
He's still medicated.
For sure. But next question, like, were you ever injured in a derby or?
I was never injured. I had my helmet turned sideways once and snot in my ear hole, but never hurt though.
Who did that to you?
It might have been Shane. I don't know. It was down to me, Billy, Chad, Shane. So
So they probably were taking it easy
yeah,
on you,
they were
right?
taking it easy on me. So this guy's old. We don't have to hurt him or nothing.
Yeah.
Tom?
Probably basically the only thing I had, you know, just cut the end of my finger off just a little bit, nothing big deal, or not really that bad.
Yeah, like you said, how'd you do it?
I must, you know, the door panels off them doors, when I turned that steering wheel, it just it's still cut off, but cut the end of it. But the funny thing about that was I kept driving and running, and I'd use my one hand. Well, by the time we were done, that blood was all over my pants, up the door, and around. It's like a circle, that blood, but, you know, it didn't really hurt, you know, it wasn't that big a deal.
Not till you looked at it.
Nah, it was all right. Probably had 1 or 2 beers and made it all right. I don't know.
That was before he went out.
Some
That's why it
great
bled
tape.
so bad.
Then the
Put some
blood.
great tape on her and go.
What'd you hurt? Inside your
Nothing.
brain?
No, that's about it. Yeah. No, I really never hurt anything. It's just sore every once in a while. The next day. But that's
Especially
about
the
it.
elbows and stuff.
Yeah.
I was a sissy. I wear elbow pad. I got tired of that. Not ever being able to set your elbow down. It's like, ah. Which it'd be funny because if you all watched all 4 of us get up, you look like we're about
80.
20 years older than we are.
Well, what's bad is when you're walking on a straight line and your shoulders are turned one way and you're still walking this way, looking over this way.
Yeah. So yeah, because you did have. I mean, your back. You've had back
My
problems.
back's been messed up pretty bad. Yeah.
But watching the way you guys hit back then, I mean, like I watched some of them old school videos, and like both of you and Tommy, I mean, they're different cars. Everything was stock. Was supposed to be stock.
They were
Yeah.
Stock.
stock.
Why are you
Boom
guys
stock.
looking at Dave whenever you
Yeah, why do you say that?
My car was probably the stockest of them all.
That's what you're going to
Well, but ask him about the big old plate hanging on. He probably had it too. Well, that's why an Impala went down like this.
I didn't have no plate on there.
That's only when you stick a highway sign in the trunk it does that.
Okay, either way.
He had a highway sign in it.
But it was rusted completely out. It was rust repair.
Did they have it back then? I don't remember that.
Well, they never said nothing.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you covered it up with dirt and everything.
That's right. That's how you did
30-year
it.
undercoating.
I wouldn't know nothing about that. But
Yeah.
I don't think Sea Race inspections were.
As long as they found something, like a little simple thing, they were good with it.
well, speaking of that, I'll say something.
They were called decoys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Chevrolet wagons I had. The Chevrolet wagon, I'd weld a strap down from the front frame up to that fender well because it was heavy. Well, he always made you cut that in two. He never made you cut it off that frame that, it helped
Thanks
some
whoever
of it.
got that one.
Well, I demoed for 10 years, and I couldn't figure out why you guys always put that strap on there and got to cut it off anyway. Well, you're just covering the holes in the frame.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, then
So, next one. Okay, start date. Who is your biggest rival? I mean, obviously, we probably know the answer to that, but who is your biggest rival?
I always liked driving against the Markleys, but,
Yeah.
Coleman. He just rubbed me the wrong way. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I'd go find him. If he was in my heat, I'd go find him.
They were.
We should have had you and him on then last year, too, together. How about Tom?
I don't know. It just depends on, like one time I had two cars out there and let Darvin run one of them because I qualified them both. And I think it was, gosh darn it, what was his name?
Didn't you throw a helmet into the stand?
No, that's where I'm going. What was his name? Chad knows who. Who was that?
Pete.
No, it wasn't Pete. I can't remember his name, but I'll think of it. No, it wasn't Budrow. Anyway, he come out of the heat with nothing hardly hurt, is what I felt. So I told Darvin to kind of baby that one wagon. I went after him, and I finally got him over, and he's running a big Chrysler. Finally got him in front of the grandstands, and I got him halfway in the ditch. And C-Ray might have been kind of telling me to get away, and I ran and hit him again, and I backed out of maybe about 10 feet, 15 feet, and I seen him crawl out of that window, and I'm facing the whole crowd of the grandstands, and see him pull his helmet off, and I knew he was going to wing it at me, and all the crowd seemed like they stood up because they knew what was going to happen, and I did tell myself I'm not throwing it back. Well, it landed up inside my car, so of course I threw it back, and then he threw it back again, and I says, oh. And I'm watching everybody watching like, man, what do I look like? But anyway, I said, I'll end this, and I threw it over the fence, so we had to go get it.
He's in the stands.
Huh?
Chad said you threw it in the stands.
I did, over the fence in the stands.
You made
And
some
then-
kid very happy that night.
That guy wasn't too happy, and I can't. But, me and Ben Budrow, we had a lot of ins and outs. I didn't hate the guy, but you wanted to beat him. He was pretty good in his day, but there's different ones. It depends on what derby it was and how things worked out.
Yeah.
But I was normally a quiet guy and just kept my mouth shut and sat back.
I know that's not true.
I really didn't have any enemies when I derbied or anything like that. Me and Shiraki had a tiff for a few years that we come in, and my car got tagged and flagged and all this other stuff, and I'm unloading it. Well, C-Ray and Mike, I think his name was Mike, Big Mike, that used to tech in cars. He come over to my car and he goes, Heath, you got to cut that iron you got welded to the frame underneath in the back. I said, what iron? You guys never even looked under my car. And he goes, well, I said, did somebody tell you I had something there? He said, well, yeah. I said, did he have overalls on? He said, well, yeah. I said, okay. I said, well, look underneath the back of this thing first before you tell me to cut them. They looked under there. He said, leave one on each side. So after that there, we kind of had a pissing contest with us for a little bit. But
That was another one for me, was when I was over there in Slina, and I got stuck with the slide. I got not these two, but Terry and all them. You've had it on. Yeah, it's one of the good ones you had to put on the Facebook. And they, shoved up to my bumper and stuff, and all shoving on me and got me up over it. I'm wondering where the heck C-Ray is. He ain't, telling him to get away from me. He wasn't. But anyways, think I was smart enough, and I just kind of barely hold the brake so I could get up on that hill so I could get off. Well, I started coming back off of that thing, and they put me right back on, and that's the way it was. But, that's just, little tips you have here and there. It's all together, it's fun, and we're still, become buddies and all that.
Back when you guys were kind of serious, along came the team stuff. Did they have any team derbies back when you guys was going?
There was.
It's just these guys running this teams and sliding.
Yeah, Dave would get the first heat, I'd get the fourth heat, so we had to clean up everything in the middle.
There was always a team. Back then, the team derbies were probably more team derbies than the team derbies. If you go watch some of the old videos.
Hey,
If your last name was Markley.
No, these Salina guys.
There's only one Moravec out there.
Yeah, but you had the rest of his family and his sister.
They weren't out there, though.
But you know what? When I watch, not to mean to jump in there, but when I watch is these guys at these big shows, not everybody, there's some great drivers out there, but some of these all of a sudden to get a team and go up to these big shows, and them guys, one guy will be barely stuck and he'll drive right beside him instead of trying to knock him off. That stuff drives me nuts that they don't got common sense. What do you say, chicken?
I don't know. My back's bad from carrying all this weight all the time.
That's a lot of weight.
Wait till he left his
That's a lot of weight holding that wagon up.
There was a team show once at the Bicentennial Center.
Oh, yeah. I was there.
And I was sick like you was at your last derby you went to. And I had a Monte Carlo, and you said you couldn't have a flat and keep running under concrete. Well, I qualified for their little feature that they had, and Tom helped put rear tire on my car. My sister was helping jack the car up, and he was like, Colin, let's go, let's go. Tom had these lug nuts in his hand. He said, wait a minute, these. I don't care, throw them away.
But speaking, people don't remember a lot of that too, or didn't see it because they're young, is at the Bicentennial Center, they had a few derbies. And what was the transmission guy? I can't think of his name.
Kevin Rogers.
Or Northwood.
No, he was in a front-wheel drive Tornado.
That'd been Kevin Rogers.
And I'm in a big Chrysler, and he rolled me over in there on the side. But
Kenner Connect did. Kevin Rogers used to run the Tornadoes also.
Ones too.
Yeah.
I think Nate had talked about that Earl, I think it was Earl that probably rolled you.
Yeah, but he rolled me on my side, and what was neat about that, and I'm not trying to brag or nothing, but they rolled that car over, and that old Chrysler fired up, and the old crowd went wild. Inside there, as little as that was, it was pretty cool. I didn't win, but it was kind of neat for that. Because if you burn,
why they don't do those anymore.
It's too little in there.
Yeah,
A good shot.
Well, there's not an exhaust.
But back then too, was if you burnt down, they had this much dirt. If you burnt down the concrete, you're disqualified. If you had a rim or something, you get down in there. Remember that?
I think when I was up there, I don't think they had any. There was no dirt down when I did it. I don't think.
Well, when I did it,
I beat Chad on a crowd call.
Markley says the crowd let you win.
That's right.
Really?
Crowd favorite. They're tired of him winning.
Yeah. They're probably right. I mean, Salina guy. That's pretty funny.
It's kind of sad about the Bicentennial Center because any motorsport stuff that went on there, they packed the place.
Oh, for sure.
And, they kind of got away from it.
Exactly, but what's more sad than that is them tearing out the regular
Don't get me
demo
started.
track. And I'm not getting chicken, but that even ticked me out. That's some of the fun. And back in the day you had 2 nights. I think it was 2 nights in Salina.
and 2 nights in Abilene.
And then 2 nights in Abilene. So we'd try to run both plates, and that's so close. It was kind of like another hometown till you had these heroes show up.
Tom, the problem was nobody showed up to the city commission meetings in a tennis skirt, or else we'd have had that demo derby place somewhere.
And that's what you get. That's the way people.
Easy, Dean.
I knew what gender I was, so I wasn't going to go over there that way.
But for these guys,
Is Dean a tennis player?
He wears a skirt, I guess.
Yeah.
but y'all go.
I know.
But you all go back and look at it. How many of these tennis courts in Salina, Kansas really get played on? They tear that was fun for the kids, something for the
I can
kids
tell
and
you
everything.
At 10 o'clock in the morning on Sundays, ain't nobody out there playing.
Hey, which one?
How about
South,
Saturday night?
Central? They all got new
How
courts.
about Sunday night when demos were going
They
on?
got padlocks on them now.
Yeah, you gotta have a little code.
Well, I ain't got that either.
I don't either.
Which we can shout out one of the sponsors. Thanks for Salina Speedway for stepping up and helping with the fair shows.
Yeah.
And it
Exactly.
packs. I mean, I was surprised when Chad and I were talking about them moving it there. We didn't expect like the turnout, and it was crazy. It was crazy how many people
Well,
went.
Who had,
it was always full over there
Oh, for sure.
on a Sunday night.
but was
Exactly.
cool about that when the Salina first was out of it, and you get Chad put it on and everything, was they had to open another gate to a field to have people park over there to come in there. That's, you know, that's amazing to me that, you know, to tear that out and people still doing it. That's why Salina needs to get another field. Chicken and them guys need to figure out something, and the city and the county, and get something, because, you know, it's about the kids too.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's for the motorsports community because, like I said, even if you get the younger kids that go in and bone stock and compact, that might get them to keep
So I could
moving
get
on,
back into
moving
it
on,
now.
and they
Bone
might
stock,
race.
all right.
Are you guys ready for the hard question?
Oh, the hard.
We thought them were.
Who will be honest with me on this?
Oh, God.
What secrets or not so legal things did you get by with that you can tell us about now?
You better talk to these two.
Well, first of all, I guarantee we didn't build our cars and set them out to pasture for 4 or 5 years.
We never did.
Oh, come on.
Well, you
Right,
can
Chad?
tell now.
I'll tell you one of them I did to them Impalas and stuff was I had sucker rod, you know, it was probably inch and a half, and I'd cut a hole in the body, and then in the back of the hump, I'd beat one down this way and one the other way, exit in there, and then I'd weld them down. And one good thing about that, if it did show, it would show because there's a little bit of slack. It was kinking over that hump. Everybody thought it was going to go. Well, it never did. Them never did go when I'd do them.
So their back ends went down. They didn't know that trick. See, if I can get you both all going in a war, this might be good.
We got to
Theirs
stop.
always went out.
Dave beat me one time in Abilene. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I wasn't
With
using
my
my
friend.
head. Yeah, if I'd have seen my ass in, I would have never done what I did, but I did.
Well,
Bill's
you
just
know what my
shaking his
butt
head.
looked like.
Yeah, but I didn't. I never looked at mine. I always looked over top. I had a wagon. I never did think I'd kink the humps in it, but it did.
Bill's just over there shaking his head.
You use the front end?
Oh,
Had to. He didn't have no ass in left. It was dragging the ground.
I didn't mind using the front end.
You didn't? You must have been cheating up there.
Well, maybe.
Okay, what'd you have up front?
Let's hear
I
it.
didn't have I'd never put any metal in.
You had, you probably had an I-beam up there.
Nope.
What'd you have?
Didn't you?
Well,
Just take
It
the
was a
whole
square
front end off.
shaft that you cut a hole through the side and went across the front.
I did not do that. That's Steve Strike.
Okay.
But mine, I would just take the whole front end off, flip it upside down, and weld that receipt.
Well, didn't you guys take fender wells too and shove them in and pack them with one of your
Just on
loaders or
corners.
something?
The
Well,
front
Put
corners.
2 or 3 of them together.
you could put 3 inner fenders together and tack them
Yeah,
together.
see, here we go.
But that wasn't me.
You're the one who told me out your junk
It wasn't me,
But it
but
just so happened to be on your car.
No, it was not. No, it was not my car. It was somebody he mentioned just a minute ago.
Steve Strike.
there you go.
did he
But-
run with you guys much? Or?
He ran with.
He
ran through their stable a little
he
bit.
did until he went on vacation.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
Why'd you
But,
go?
no, he went on
Why'd you go on
vacation.
vacation?
Well, there's a different
Somebody's
story.
going to get a phone call.
I think
But,
that Brian Reef went with him.
but anyway,
No, that's
My deal, I took all the putty out of the seams and seam welded everything. You weld too far on the back, then the hump started building, so you quit welding so far back.
I see.
And then take
Then
the
he-
springs out and weld upper coil
then he
springs.
took the body mounts out too,
Yeah.
sucked them down.
Take the body mounts
Which was
out.
probably a big deal back then, because
Yeah.
what were the rules? I mean, were you allowed
None.
to do that? Or?
Those gray areas.
Yeah, well,
It never said that you couldn't.
You got to remember who the promoter is, and a lot of them didn't bend over to look underneath them cars. And
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, you
And
know,
then you gave them one thing to find, like weld a little
yeah.
plate over top that hump hole, and say you got to cut that out.
yeah, I built a car one time. It was orange, identical to Dave's. Other than the number on the side of it was the only thing different.
Yeah.
And I go over to Abilene with this car and come in, see they check my car, everything's good, put a flag on me. Moravec coming? Yeah, he's on his way. They look over here, he's coming around the corner. Well, cut this, cut that. So I said, well, Dave's got the torch, so I'll cut when he gets there. Dave comes in with this flag. What do you got to cut? Nothing.
That's kind of still how it works.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Dave definitely drove hard. So did Ron. All you guys did back then.
So your sister wants to know about the stupid stuff.
Stupid
What
stuff.
stupid stuff?
She said, what about the stupid stuff?
Well, there's a lot of stupid stuff that happened in our deal. We was building cars at Dave's brother's shop one night, run out of wire.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I got a friend that was working at Great Plains. I called him, hey, can you get us some wire for our welder? He brings this huge roll of wire over. Well, it don't fit on our small welder. Well, when you're welding, the wire comes off quarter turn per roll. Well, it kept kinking. So we cut the wire and roll it all the way over North Street. About 100 yards, 200 yards, we'll put it in the welder and we'll weld until we run out of wire again.
This was one car we built in one night.
Yeah.
You ran out of that much wire?
Well, yeah, you had to compete with the Markleys. It was an Abilene car.
Then they took the same car to Salina.
We didn't save it
That's
for
a
3
lot of
years.
wire.
It is.
No, I mean, it was just to get done.
Yep.
They probably
I think we
crapped
stayed
it.
up almost all night welding
Yeah.
that sucker.
Oh my God.
And still, them were fairly stock builds for back then. You guys, I mean, like, I'd forget like our Blizzard Bash stuff. It's probably got 4 or 5 rolls of 44-pound spools of wire.
I'd have my cousins come down, and they'd weld all night and stuff, weld the
have
seams and
cousins, too?
stuff on that, huh?
Then they
Did
put
they
it out
run?
in the field.
Chris
Get
and
it all
Candace got
rusty,
caught. No.
where it looked like they
I think
was
Scott
grinding
ran
it.
once, but they'd always come down and help, and
Carnes,
they welded. That's all they did, and they'd come down and weld all the seams and do all that stuff. And
I thought it was bone stock.
It is.
Yeah, but they didn't figure out the muriatic acid.
it was
soon
still
enough.
bone. They were loose.
Yeah, I can't talk of anything because I'm still running.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't talk about yours neither because I've seen some of them. So.
Yeah,
And I don't say nothing to anybody about that.
What did you use the muriatic acid for?
To make it rust.
So it looked rusty.
Yeah.
That way,
Oh, yeah.
That way we didn't have to set it in the field for 4 or 5 years like
Yeah.
the Markley did.
We didn't do that. I found out the biggest thing is
That's called like firewood. That's a seasoned
Yeah.
spray.
the best thing I
They
did.
bring it back out of the field.
All right.
And it
No,
looked
we,
like it was all
I
rusty.
don't know where you got that. We found them in the field. We ran them, throw the motor in training, and let them
Yeah,
Who would want
see,
a
they
new
found them
derby
in
car?
a...
Well, see, that's why they raise dogs too. They'd get all that dog and run through it, so you wouldn't want to look under their car.
That's true too. No, we didn't.
Yeah, it stinks. They're not
Oh,
gonna,
crap.
you have a guy inspecting your car and they're wiping on the frame with their hand. Like, what the hell is that? It's dog shit.
The funniest thing to do to people that inspected, back then was, and we weren't quite done, so we'd paint it, and then you'd have, like my number was USA 1, they'd lean up against there and look at something. They always had U or USA 1 on the side or something.
The wet paint trick, yeah. Like, watch out, it's wet paint, so they'd all kind of look from.
Well, especially with C-Ray and them guys because they always wore white clothes.
Yeah.
C-Ray really never did get that close.
No.
The big guy, what was his name?
I forget.
Mike, his name was Mike. I don't know what his.
He was a pretty cool guy if
Yeah.
you liked. You didn't tick him off. Like my sister Regina would always tick him off, and she'd have trouble getting through that gate. That's just the way it goes.
So that kind of leads to the next question. Like we've been asking everyone, like, what do you guys think of like the current state of the sport? I mean, like you have our top shows like we've been running, and I know the bone stock stuff, which you guys kind of came from, bone stock where everything's welded. So, but like, what do you think where the sport's going nowadays?
What I've seen in some of the cars nowadays is kind of crazy how the builds are going. I always tell everybody, if we was building our cars like that, we'd probably still be running our first car.
Well, you got that rollover bar that comes out and around and everything else. You got like a roll bar inside of it and everything else, where back then you couldn't have any of that.
Exactly.
But what I say about all of it is, I like watching. There's different classes for different what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
At least, as long as everybody gets together, this class pretty much stays the same. even modified, they stay the same. You know, you got to watch what you're watching. What, you know, like the big class you, Chad, all you guys are running. That's something that you guys are putting into your mind to make it bend and do that. So, you know, there's different people. Just an individual that's never been around it, they probably wonder, you know, what's going on. These guys getting hit so hard and doing all that. But to me, is figuring out something just like these guys cheating and figured that out. What to do to help your cars, and as long as you don't get caught, I guess you ain't cheating. So that's what I say.
I would like to help
Never.
build on some of
Thank
one of the
you,
new
thank you.
cars to
Thank
see
you.
Yeah.
where you know, look at where
Never
things
cheated.
bend and stuff, and then I'm like a thinker when I derby or used to derby. You know, where's this car going to bend? Okay, you're welding something here. Where's it going to bend at from here? You know, and you do things different. I do things different than everybody else inside the box. It was always something different.
Yep.
Because if you do the same, you're all going to be the same car. You're never going to advance in what you're doing.
But if you worked in a body shop, you knew exactly where it all bends.
Yeah.
And those guys would roll those cars up like this.
Yeah.
Didn't Markley's own a body shop at one time?
My older brother did. We didn't.
That's why I said.
No, I mean,
Yeah, you knew a body shop. They know how to roll those.
actually, that I'll tell you the truth is, I don't even like to say it. Probably Chad's the one who really started rolling before we did.
That was
We
good.
might have had a little bit, but
I think Dave started
kinda
the seam
roll.
increasing.
and you know, there's a lot to do with the trunk lids. Like I'd always fold mine in the middle, you know, and you shut that trunk lid
Yeah,
and
they
let
just
it
beat
come
it
up.
down.
Yeah, and beat it down a little bit, let it come up. But it's a lot of.
But now you
it's just
just
like
feel
what you
it.
guys are saying. Even still to this day is after you run a car, make sure you kind of keep running the same car, and you figure out why is this bending here? Can I do this to do this? And be in the rules, most of it, and get your car to doing what you want it to, and that's what a lot of people
I
don't
don't think so.
pay attention to.
I wanted to
They
add this
give you
to my
a
list
sheet
of
there that says you couldn't do this, this, and this, but you always do
But you
between
could
the
do in
lines.
between.
Well, there's a lot of in betweens on those little sheets they gave you.
That's what I wanted to add one more question to my list, and I haven't got it done yet. But was the evolution of notching and rolling the trunk? Did I know I've talked to Ronnie about this for years, taking cars out to him and everything, and I don't think you ever believed in it, but it was right around the era when you quit running. It's like kind of when that was coming around, wasn't it?
He couldn't believe into it because they had all that metal in the trunk.
The
They
reason
would never do that.
The reason I didn't like the notching and the tucking of the cars is my car was still an older style. It was set up in the back end more, and I went over the top of everything, which it didn't hurt nothing, but you was always hung up on it, and you had other people hammering your front end, your front wheels and stuff, and you're trying, you're more frustrated just trying to get off of a car all the time. And I was like, and I had a few that went down to the ground, but after I stopped welding so much in the trunk,
See, there you go.
it was once I stopped welding in the trunk so much, the back ends they stopped going to the ground, and they started a different bend. But it was, I guess, if I would have used the back end more versus getting frustrated and just start hammering with the front, I would have did better.
Well, the old Chrysler cars, the whole back end would just fold up on you,
Whale tail.
Yeah.
and then you couldn't see out of them, so you had to use the front end.
Yeah.
Tom, did you notch?
I don't know if I really notched. Like I said, with the trunk lid and stuff like that, maybe forced it up without a notch, just a little bit was it. But it seemed like I hit hard enough, mine always went up. These guys always went down because they always got tagged or something. I don't know.
That's because they were hammering with the front, and then someone would come in behind them.
I ran a whole feature one time and never used the back of the car.
I actually didn't use one of the front. I bought a car. It was over here at Salina, a Chevy wagon. I bought it. And then I got it home and noticed it was in a wreck and the frame was bent. I never did use that corner of that thing. But it's...
Got some questions on there?
Oh, Chase Fish just said Ken Carney used to be over at the Markley shop welding to the wee hours in the morning. Tom and Uncle Ken, tell him all the time that. So.
Oh, yeah. Ken would stay all night and have to call his wife. And I think he just liked to stay over for a while. And Chris was there, too. I mean, that's what I was talking about. It's a lot who comes by, even if they don't help much. It kind of makes you feel good. Somebody stops by and probably drinks half your beer back then. But, it's a lot about the people and even the sponsorship today's,
Yeah. So that's kind of along the lines too of helping people out and everything. One of the questions I've been trying to ask everyone's like, what advice would you give to the younger generation just getting into the sport?
Don't do it. No, I'm kidding.
Play golf.
Have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm still going with my
go
kids.
play golf instead.
Yeah.
But I'd say this it's been a family thing for a lot of us. Look at he's still racing with his boy, which his boy's coming back to Derby. He don't realize it yet, but one day he will. But
It'll be cheaper.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Pays better.
The demoing does pay better than racing.
and that's the biggest thing is you might not win them all, but at least getting something back, $500 or something, makes you feel a little better going home at least. When you're married, your wife might not think that, but
They always say, demoing, you just go out and destroy the car. Racing, you get to race the car week after week. That's not always true. There's some nights you come home with your car and you might as well just cut it up and start on a new one because it's junk. And we've seen that.
So Ronnie, being on both sides of the fence, which do you find being more work? Is the demo more work?
For me, the demoing was more work because the racing is the way it is now. You buy these special parts because that's what you have to run. You bolt them on, you set up your setup, which once you get your setup for your track, you're good. Demoing, you're always thinking ahead of the game or trying to add more to it. I mean, when Tyler started demoing, it was like, why do you want to do this? You're just going to, but his thing, he quit playing sports and stuff because it wasn't going to take him nowhere. So after his first Derby, he said, he was sitting with all his buddies, and I walk up to him, I said, hey, Tyler, you can't demo no more. What was that? I said, it ain't going to take you nowhere, and all his friends started laughing. But, he did very well in the demoing, and we just, he was a smart driver. He wasn't like his dad. His dad was kamikaze bonsai all the time. But no, Tyler was good at both sports that he's done. He's done real good at both of them.
Tyler was really awesome and they carved their own little niche. And what I respect, like you kind of did it on your own. There's no one that really showed these guys like with them compacts that Tyler started running. They started winning a lot of these shows, and they were probably kind of like a limited weld nowadays compact. And then you guys kind of had a cradle that you could add, and you kept progressing. But it was kind of fun to watch because they did it all on their own because there wasn't really too many people like just feeding them secrets or and that's kind of neat. Same thing with racing.
When he first started, I kind of was timing what the Heath, the feature, the whatever it was taken, and it was like I told Tyler, I said, if you run for 10 minutes, you're in the top 5. I said, if you run for 15 minutes, you probably won, and that's kind of the way it was. And we'd build the car, and he would go out to try to win it in the first 10 minutes. And there was one show over at Abilene, he went over and he won it in 4 minutes.
Wow.
And yeah, he did really well. I'm proud of what he
Dave,
done.
any advice to youngins getting in it?
Oh, I don't know. It was fun. It's fun, but you gotta like the sport.
Yeah.
what I'd say for the young ones is you don't got to start out with everything. You got bone stock. You don't have to have all the motor. In fact, all the motor in the world, in limited weld and stuff, you're tearing up more stuff if you don't know how to use it to get out of the way instead of hitting some. You don't need, you can still use the same gas pedal and brake in some of them classes. And these kids want to buy a whole brake setup and all that, which takes you twice as much when your brakes don't work. But, you get in the bigger class, you got to have some of that stuff. But there's a lot of common sense stuff. That's why you wish their dad was along more or something. There's a lot out there, but, even asking you questions and stuff, you don't spend your money on making sure that car runs and drives right and keeps running, then putting all your money into a lot of stuff you don't need, looking fancy.
And one of the main reasons I have that question on here is so the younger generation knows, like you guys had usually like 1 or 2 good engines, and like Dave said, they're not high-dollar rebuild engines. They're like good ones that you save. That
It had 100,000 miles on it when I bought it.
So to start out, you don't need all that. Just get you a good running setup, and then you can build from there.
And then I put a timing chain in it. It was a used timing chain.
A good buddy
when I was a mechanic.
Yeah.
And then I put a 2-barrel on it. And,
That's where you went wrong.
And an HEI. Oh, yeah, that's where I went wrong.
No, I'm just kidding.
I tried both 2 and 4, so.
But I like the 2 barrels, and I put HEI on it. And
A good buddy of mine, Mike Mott, he helped me a lot when I was a kid. He still helps the boys building some of their motors and stuff. But, you know, all we did was finally take, and I like the 400s, take a 400 and put a small pulling cam in it. And, of course, I like 4 barrels and ran that. And I had a lot of luck with that. And we never even rebuilt them right then. That was just throwing a cam in them, maybe putting springs on the heads. And
See, that's
all them.
A whole lot more than I ever done.
Mine.
I might have put a
There
spark
wasn't no
plug and
work
wires
much
on mine
to it.
once in a while.
HI.
And they were used too.
HEI and a
But I have access to used parts too.
Plenty of them.
I could go through them videos and see Dave's hotter than hell like every run he had, but usually it was just a streak of red that you'd see go this way, this way, this way. And
I remember seeing it. You showed that video going over half the bank, and it was all messed up.
Yeah.
Who was on that? Chad and Shane, or what was it?
I think it was Chad and Shane in Houston. They got into it. Oh, Dave. So, what? I mean, I know I asked like the favorite kind of car, but what was your favorite car you ever ran? Like favorite built car? Maybe the one you won the most or had the best luck with?
Well, the best one I ever had was the win in Abilene. So
I was there. I was a kid and I still remember that.
What I ended up, second or third over there?
second, Billy was third.
Didn't you run it up Tommy's back in? Right?
Oh,
I was running up his too. Don't forget that.
He went to one end
That
and I went
sounds
to
like
the end.
hey, we can't. This is a PG show, guys.
I ran it up his back end, all right.
But the problem is, when I was done, that car was hijacked in the center, which was a wagon with humps, which I couldn't believe it did that, which I didn't look at them. But I'll guarantee you
He's
that
got
front bumper
excuses.
didn't have no marks on
Got
it.
excuses.
It was
No,
like
I didn't either. I gave you that.
That was like Dave that run that Valari station wagon one time.
Oh, yeah.
And it bent in the middle just straight.
Oh, yeah.
That's what this wagon did. And, you know, back then, them wagons didn't do
Well,
like
his
that.
drive shaft went from here to there, and the car was just bent in the middle.
But I took fifth in it.
Yeah.
I didn't have no reverse when I went out in the feature.
So,
So it was around
so
in
that
circles.
when Dave won Abilene, I mean, was the crowd Markley fans then or not?
Oh,
It was
yes.
both. It was still
No,
both.
They were Markley
Well, I-
fans. They were always Markley fans.
Okay, I have to say something about this deal. Not his deal, but one time, you know, I used to run dang hard. That 400 used to run good and sound loud. Well, one time, my gas pedal broke on that thing. And I'm idling around, and I heard my own crowd booing me. That's what I thought. I mean, really did. And I thought, I'm never going to please that crowd again. You know, I didn't mean it to happen. I could hear them booing me. It's like, ticked you off that you've done all that all them years. But that's the way it is.
But if you go back to just building cars, we use door hinges for shifters. And,
That's what I was gonna. He told me to ask you about your shift.
oh, yeah, it's a door hinge.
Just a rod shift.
Yeah,
Well,
just the door
you
hinge
mean-
of your car.
The
You
lock
mean the truck
mechanism,
lid deal?
right?
No, it was just, he took the door hinge and welded it on the floor and put a rod through the top of it, and that was the hinge.
What I use is them hinges on them Impalas. Was that rod across there with a hook in it? I use them, you know, welded
But
deal too.
I used to weld it to the floor,
Yeah.
and the bad thing was the floor shifted,
Yeah.
so sometimes you had trouble shifting. So I got smart and finally welded it to the cross member of the transmission, so it stayed with the transmission.
I always use the Camaro cable shifters, and everybody said, well, I'm not going to break. Well, I just turned my shifter sideways in the car so I wasn't yanking on the shifter all the time, and it just nice, slow, and easy.
I guarantee you, Chad's shifter that he still runs in the biggest shows in the country nowadays is about as haggard as you guys are talking.
I'll probably still have my shifter.
Oh, I still got your tires,
I know.
your new set.
And then I still got my gas tank.
That's
Or I sold my motor.
Chad runs that because he's superstitious, which is everyone knows I'm
Oh, yeah.
superstitious.
I think everybody.
What are some of your superstitions?
Mine was I had this seat. I took it out of this car one time, and it was red and had black. It had stripes going this way. The paneling was the same way, and it was really engineered. And that was my seat. I had to have that seat in my car.
Nice.
My deal was just, you know, back when we'd wire the motors a little bit, you know, the stars and stuff, was just keep doing it the same way because it always worked. Well, one time one wire broke and I double wired everything I could. And about 2 years later, I figured out that was a lot of work. I quit doing that. But, you know, just the little stuff's what always got you.
Details.
Exactly.
He was the same tranny for years until they wouldn't go.
Dave, PG-13 show.
But we used to use hydraulic
I didn't hang
oil.
around him
Yeah.
back then.
We used hydraulic oil in the transmissions
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah.
That in '97, like on my dad's video, it shows you just completely light up a train, smoke rolling. I mean, rolling most.
It
I've
took
ever
a long
seen.
time for those trannies to go up.
Oh,
But
and
once they went up,
then you know it's gonna catch fire. I mean,
and you'd burn everything inside.
oh, exactly.
Well, Kevin at Zerback, he used to buy all of our 350 core transmissions back then, and I took him some of our demo trainings down after we was done, and he said, I do not want any more of that junk. Whatever you guys run in there for oil, it just welds everything together.
You take the filter out.
I'll have to say a funny one about a fire. Down there at the shop, down at Grandma Markley shop where Chad builds all his stuff is, we were kids, we didn't have no water down at the end of that shop, and that's about half a block away from the water. Billy was down there working on a car, and I still remember this, working on a car, cutting something. Well, that thing caught on fire, and it burned it from one end to the other because we didn't have no water to put it out. That was way back when I remember that.
We've had two issues with fires building cars. The first one was me. I building my car in the shop. Never did it. Always build them outside. And car caught on fire. Dash was trying to burn a little bit, so I grabbed this bucket of water and I throwed it on the car. Well, it was a bucket of gas. So it's really blazing. Well, I'd go grab the hose and I turn the water on. I take off running with the hose and it stops. The car's parked on the hose. So here, I'm like 10 o'clock at night out at the shop by myself. I'm crawling in the car, putting it in neutral and trying to shove it out of the garage so I don't burn everything down. On fire. And the next one was when Tyler started doing the compact derbies. He had a car ready to go for Salina's show or something. I'm not sure which one it was. And it was 105 or so outside, so we went inside, cool off a little bit. Come outside and look over, and his car's just blazing on fire. And they're over there. I'm just being calm. I go get the hose. I said, why don't you guys go find a fire extinguisher? And they're scattered all over looking for a fire extinguisher. I just go grab the hose and start washing things down. Well, that's when we went to carbureted on the compacts because we burnt everything up that was already done.
All the electronic.
Yeah, everything was burnt. I mean, it toasted it. So, I mean, that was our two fire issues.
Okay, I got to ask a question here. How many times you guys build at your shop and say, one of us showed up there and you covered stuff up so we couldn't see it?
Oh,
My deal was always Sunday was trunk day. So everything that got done on the back of my cars was done on Sundays, and it was done by Monday.
See, I knew they cheated that. I knew they cheated that.
There was a crane there to help.
I didn't buy my house and he didn't know where I lived.
You had to crawl over the fence to see his stuff while he was there. What do you want? I'm coming.
Well, you might have been one of them guys that was throwing stuff at me at midnight going by when I was out there working on my car by myself.
Probably beer can.
That's fun.
But, that's like us down there at the shop, Wes.
Same thing they used to
You'd
do.
be working on something, you see somebody pull up along the street,
Yeah.
and if you had them on the floor, Jack, all right, let it down, and let
I
it
go by
go.
there every once in a while and they'd shut the doors.
We come outside.
I know, that's what I said. You shut the doors. Hey, what do you want, Dave?
Yeah.
I just see what you guys were doing.
At
Drinking
least
beer.
my era of running, there was kind of a mutual respect. Like, if you go to someone's shop, you just don't go eyeball all their stuff. I mean, unless they said, go ahead, look at it.
Yes, and that's
They
still
look
the
at
same
mine.
way.
Mine was bone stock.
But there's a few of them.
It was.
What kind of stock? I think Bill probably can get you some square stock, short stock.
I didn't say that. Ground stock.
Yeah.
I get you all kinds of stock stuff.
Hey, I'll just say this is, you guys better be happy that I didn't work at Land Pride and Great Plains back in them days.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
I'd had to have a lot more. My kids got it now.
I'm good.
I'm fine right now. Thanks.
So, how'd you guys manage
He'll get
family
it.
time and car building, all that?
I didn't have a family. It was just me.
That
And a girlfriend
makes it
every once in a while.
You had a
In
chance
between.
to have somebody in the family, and she sure didn't go that way. Why is she over there looking the other way? Is that your sister?
That's my sister.
I know.
She's my sister.
See, I didn't know
He
that.
ruined that deal because he spent time with her brother and he didn't like that, I guess. She didn't like that. Yes, I know that. I'm just rubbing it in on him.
My family time.
Started, Justin?
Yeah, my family time. I when my kids got a little bit older, I decided it was time to quit derbying and do their sports and stuff like that. And then my parents were getting older, and it was time for me to take over the business. So it was like, I can't be crippled and try doing what I had to do. So it was time for me to quit.
But you still got family time. Sorry.
Yeah.
With the car racing and your
Well,
boy.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
I mean,
and your wife and
Yeah,
everybody.
We did the.
And I watch
mean,
her on videos. Yelling,
we did the
screaming.
sports. I mean, the football, the basketball, all that, coaching him all the way through. And then when he got to high school, time he could play himself, he said, "I'm tired of playing, Dad."
Yeah,
So-
so that's what I'm saying. You guys, I still see y'all still being a family.
Right.
It might be in racing, which is great too, but you know, just like me, our whole family, pretty much, not all of them anymore, but like Chad's down at the shop down there all the time. My boys, Slade and Kyler, you know, they're always building most of the time, or we're fighting in the shop about building, but you know, it's a family thing too. We still go watch different idiots like that Chad.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's enjoyable. We all go down there and to different derbies and just have a good time with friends and family. You know, friends is a lot to do with it too, is what I think.
A lot of the friends are family now. I mean,
Yes,
it's
yes.
not like a lot of them are. I didn't say you, Chad. I said a lot of them are.
Many times the Heath has saved our asses.
Yeah. And that's, and that's a true Chad Slade was just saying.
Not as much as I do everybody else.
But if we really need something and we thought we had 2 springs set out at that height, we didn't. We call him and his boy, and they're always there to help us too. And that's a lot of the big things is your buddies and stuff. You've helped out, they help you out.
Good shirt. That Tyler that said that. Yeah. That's.
What he
He
said.
said trade can't even get a good shirt.
That's pretty funny.
Oh,
Olmsted.
Olmsted.
Olmsted's fast.
Well, I mean, here a couple weeks ago at Hayes, Olmsted won the. He won
Oh,
the.
is he?
Yeah, he's a part. Yeah, during. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he demos,
For sure.
but he had one of Tyler's shirts on in the winner's circle, so I thought I'd wear his tonight too.
For sure.
But that's another one. Speaking of Tyler, I see these guys. But Tyler's around my boys quite a bit and stuff. Tyler's, when we're running somewhere and might need some help, he jumps in there and help. You know, that's his boy, and that's the way a lot of them. There's a kid, Jonah West. He don't know nothing about cars, and one day we're laying under Kyler's, and he's helped me, you know, put the transmission in. It took me a little bit on a jack, you know, telling him don't push so hard, but you know, the kid did lay under there and help me do it, and you respect some of that type of stuff.
What's awesome to me is like growing up as a kid, I saw the rivalries on track, but I didn't understand how great of friends people were off the track. Like, I thought the Pickings and Markleys hated each other. I thought if they saw each other in Abilene, they're going to shoot each other. But like Chad, there's some of them, they're best friends.
We're all best friends with all of them.
Yeah.
Very close. My kids are friends with them, and
Yeah.
it ain't them. They're our friends, family. I mean, we call, you know, all of them great to us. We're great to them, you know, just like
Same.
everybody here.
Same thing if you'd watch you guys go at it in the arena back in the day, you'd think, God, they hate each other, but you got along pretty well.
Oh, we always got along real. You know, we did what we did out there, but, you know, we kind of waited a little bit to the end, but, you know, it was always a great time. And
Tom, see, you need to tell them from your point of view to the end wasn't the same end for them, because your end was like 10 family members left.
Yeah.
It's time to
they
wrap
still
it all.
had some of the others later on, Sronky and all them. They had a whole half. You had to watch them.
It was like my dad wrote that one time, I think, welcome to the Markley family reunion in Abilene one year.
But I've helped, you know, over there. I can remember when your dad ran. I helped him out and, you know, didn't try to destroy him.
for sure.
Could I? Maybe. But it was all, you still looked at that one guy that you really didn't care for out there, or two that you didn't want him to get you. Or it could have been one of your buddies, like the Pickings. You know, it could have been them getting you, but you kept, and that's one thing a lot of kids need to learn too. You speak of that, keep your head on a swivel. Just because you made a good shot don't mean some sucker ain't coming in there to get you.
Right behind you. A lot of times you go in, somebody come right behind you.
Yeah. The reason I say that is because I literally watched one of the Pickings after a Heat win one year break a trophy across his knee in half, and I was a little kid sitting in the stands.
I
think he went and handed it to Chad, and he's like, give this to and give the other half to your team driving brother. And I'm like, oh my
Best
God.
one, it's Jeff Picking. He's the oldest one. But Jeff one time at Salina Speedway, I still remember this. He wasn't mad at me because I didn't do it. And he's a big old boy. And they're still friends. And I like old Jeff. Can you remember? Just think about it.
I know what it is.
He was mad. Somebody hit him in the driver's door. This is way back. Hit him in the driver's door. So he went out to the pits.
Oh, yeah.
And he took his torch and cut that door off and the hinges off. And he's a big old muscle up guy. Carried that out to the middle of the arena in front of C-Ray and dropped it. Look at mine.
Pointing at the door.
That must have been before video cameras.
Must have been, because it was, we were all loud like, look at him, he's going, he's pissed, and he could get mad.
I think I remember that.
There was one, I think it was Houston one night after the Derby. I mean, the order was kind of odd of what he finished. He got mad about it. He took his trophy and just threw it over in the creek.
But all of us had an attitude different times.
Yeah.
Houston built some good stuff
Yeah,
back
he
in the day,
did.
you know.
I watched that video. He junked the wagon against Cherokee in that heat, and now that's a $7,000 or $8,000 wagon for Derby. And,
Yep.
You know,
That's why I said that's the problem.
Yeah.
Things are so expensive.
If we'd have known what we know, I'd have put a couple of them cars. I had a 454 car I drug home. We run it around the street a little bit. It probably had 60,000 miles. Slick car. And there ain't the only one, a bunch of them.
I probably wouldn't have crushed half the
Impalas.
wagons we crushed.
Oh,
Yep.
for
I
sure.
know there's a 1975 Chevy Impala was 80.
Wait a minute, don't say
You
it on
still
there.
know? Leister's got it,
You know?
doesn't he?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he ain't gonna sell that.
There's one over at Great Bend, too, that's real slick.
You guys wouldn't have probably muriatic acid your shit, or you wouldn't have left it sit outside if you'd known what you know now.
If we'd have known, they'd have been in somewhere.
If we knew what we knew
Somewhere,
now,
bringing them
you
out.
probably would have re-ran the cars, fixed them like multiple times.
Yeah,
You know how many?
My worst one was a 71 two-door hardtop that the guy gave me. Said, "You want to Derby this?" I said, "Yeah." He brought it out, and it still had the bubble wrap on the seat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of them Chryslers. Chad ended up with one of them. But I was telling you, he always tore the drive shaft. That car didn't have 40, 60,000 miles on it, and it was slick like off the showroom floor almost. And I had some wagons and Impalas like that was.
PB brought up the van you guys built
Oh, yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a good time.
Yeah, he had a good time with that.
Yeah, PB had him in the back of it, I heard.
Oh, really? That's a family show.
Philip had that
They were
friend
talking
Brady
about the
Larson
Derby.
that
What are you
passed
talking
away,
about?
and that was kind of help
Okay.
honor him. He ended up winning. But I guess we're probably running pretty long. But who do you want to thank, like throughout your career, for helping, or any shout outs you want to give? Each of you can go
What's
individually.
Jason's deal?
Mine was mainly my mom and dad because they let us build the cars out of there. Didn't complain about how long the lights were left on or
Car
how
lot.
much wire we used out of the welders or anything like that.
New cars.
And like Dave helped me when I needed help, and I helped him as much as I could. But other than that, it was just kind of a family, close-knit thing that we done.
I mean, I built a lot of cars from the Heath out there. Then my brother got a shop, moved over there, and then he got that. I bought a house and started building them out of my house for a little while. Then Leister got a shop, so I started building out of that. But
Are
the
you
Heath
still
always
on
bought me a car.
Yeah.
Are
It
you
would
still
be
on
a
10th
Pontiac.
Street?
I didn't care if it was a Pontiac, Impala.
He got my last good one though.
So
Well, I shouldn't say that, but we've learned. You guys probably didn't know that back in the day, but the BOP cars have thicker frames.
Jason.
Yeah,
but yeah, I ran Pontiacs,
I saw you.
and I didn't care. I'd still put that Chevy motor in them.
Yeah,
It fit right in.
for sure.
So
There's a lot of them that even helped me back in the day and stuff, but wholesale batteries, Casey and them, they always help. There's just so many that helped you out that's, even my brothers and stuff's helped me out, I helped them out. It's just a lot to do with a lot of people.
Yeah.
We need to talk to Casey because Wholesale Batteries is sponsoring the Royals. I think they could afford to sponsor Race Dog.
Look what he bought, look what he helped, and I'll give this.
He's an awesome guy.
He is, because look what he gave up down there at Capital Carnage, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he spent like $8,000 to buy the raffle car.
Then gave it.
Yeah, I mean it's all to charity. It goes to that. I think Gary Russell doesn't it? Or,
Yeah, and he gave up a lot you know.
And
And you,
his medical issues.
and who you really got to think is, look at the people sponsoring Salina Speedway,
Oh,
Abilene, not just the people driving,
Exactly.
to keep it going.
Well, in our show, I mean, we thank our great sponsors because, I mean, that helps do all this. And I think it's awesome, and I think a lot of people enjoy hearing you guys' stories.
Yep.
So, there any other great stories you want to say before we end
Well,
it?
you know, another one's Marshall Motors. They've done a lot for
sure.
everybody. The big show, you know, around, and
Yeah.
and they put a lot out there.
Even those little sponsors, you go around and get $100 here, or
Yeah.
$50 here.
Yeah.
And say, hey,
everything
you
helps.
want a quarter of my car? How much? $50. They give you $50. You know, I'd sell half my car for $500 sometimes.
They couldn't see it. You're always moving too fast.
Well, you know,
Actually,
but it's always red and white.
speaking of
All
selling
but
cars,
one.
All but one. Yep.
my cruiser car, I sold that to
Eric Short.
Eric Schwartz because I said, give me 1,000 for it because that's what I could win in Salina. He gave me 1,000 for it, and I got the car back too. So.
I ran against that damn thing in
That
my
thing
first
was
derby.
hard. It should
I
have
know.
been, and it should have been. Everything was welded, you know, like all that stuff up front. It was
Everything
still
was
in
welded.
there.
Everything was welded.
Everything was
As a cruiser car, they let it through.
Bone stock
welding.
welding.
Lucky I kept the springs
That
out of it.
motor ran too.
It went to the junkyard
every
on
seam,
accident.
they'd weld all those seams on the top of those frames, you know.
Yeah. Which back then was a big deal because I mean,
'Cause they
you've
look at
seen,
those-
Like, it'd be the same as like your guys' like mod, you know, front seams. You see how thin that is. So like a lot of them will split apart. So if you can weld all that, I mean that's going to help keep everything together. So I mean that was a big deal back then, especially when no one else was doing it.
I think Tom was the first one to have a rotisserie to rotate the cars over and back over.
What did? He might have. I didn't have that. We did with a tractor or
And then you
backhoe or
suck
something.
Then you suck those shock bumpers in all
Yeah.
the way too.
Oh yeah, that's
Just take a come along, beat them, beat them,
Pain in
When
the
I
butt when
learned,
you did
when
it.
I first started back when you guys kind of were first getting out of it, we welded all that and then they just broke off. Then you learn the trick of where you chain them tight and they
Yep.
don't break.
Yep.
Yeah, you just suck that bumper all the way back. and
Didn't
then
weld on them
then you put a
tubes at
chain
all.
from the frame
Oh,
all the way
that was
around
dangerous.
it.
Yeah, for sure. I saw your hood handles too to keep that hood
Well,
straight.
I used to use tire irons. I just bend them and make it look like something to lift the hood off with.
Yep.
I used to put angles in the corners. That was my hood pins, and, then,
A lot of
and they were
people
about
got
that
doing
thick.
And then you done it under the hood, and let nobody else pull it
Well,
off there.
No, but
So it matched.
right. So it's just a big old square. You did.
I thought we already asked this question.
You
I know,
did.
but I was hoping they'd get talking about it.
Yeah.
Because this is what people really want to hear.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, there was maybe a little cheating on there, but not much.
A little, hold on with me, a little with me.
Yeah.
But the last car that Dave, I think it was the last one he run, I was over at Leicester's helping him weld it up, and he goes, "How long you been doing that in your trunk?" I said, "Since I started." Well, I didn't know that.
That's funny that there were secrets between you two when you're.
There wasn't no real secrets. I mean, 'cause
No.
most
I took it.
everything that was welded in his trunk was most of the time was me did it.
We learned how to do that by seeing what they didn't do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we were way behind the time when we ran up against the Markleys.
Yeah, we're doing for time.
But you know, it was all a good fun
Yeah, it
time.
was
When we
all
were
fun.
done, they were drinking beer and I was drinking tea, but they were all drinking beer. We all
Got
got
a little there a little bit.
One time, old Billy didn't like me though.
Who did he like?
Well, that's true.
Billy seemed like he'd always used to be pissy.
Billy probably doesn't like half your family half the time.
That's all good. It's just
Yeah.
Billy. He gets mad. He's mad.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way he was.
You wouldn't even shake my
Chad,
hand.
you asked Chad. Chad's told me this story. Chad used to have to block Billy from hitting people too hard in the arena because he'd get pissed off and he'd have to calm him down so he'd save his car.
Oh, that day I took those two down finally. You know, I was David and there Goliath.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I know. Billy wouldn't shake my hand afterwards. He walked away.
Billy.
So.
That's funny. One more quick question I just thought of because gears. Did you guys run gears?
Always had a
ends?
Miller 35 rear end.
Really?
Yeah, Miller 035.
Yep. You know what those
But
are?
stock gears? Or
Stock
did you
gear.
run-
Bone stock.
Bone stock.
You know what a Miller 35
That's
is?
welded spiders. Yeah.
It's the welder used.
Yeah.
It's called that. Miller
I hear
35 welder. You could use it. You could have had a Lincoln rear end if you had a
Oh, because
Lincoln
you guys
welder.
weren't supposed to.
Well,
We weren't even
The
supposed
rear
to,
end.
when we first started, well, when he
Yeah,
first
you
started,
could.
when he first started, you
I
weren't
always
supposed to weld
welded
it.
them.
you weren't supposed to.
You weren't supposed to. So you
You
were
didn't
cheating
get the
before
memo?
us.
I didn't even know that.
That memo got cut off when you were
It was
on
automatically
Markley.
Positrack.
Did you get the memo? I saw that.
That's funny.
But yeah, it was always a Miller 35.
I think Mike Mock
Rear
got
end.
me to using some gears, but
And
there
then-
was 2 different rear ends.
Anybody else you guys suggest to get on here? I know Ted McCready's one. John Limington's another one that used to run quite a bit. I want to get some of the other areas like the Monties, some
The
of
Monties
the
are
Monties
good.
and Pete Beaumont even. I mean, he was good in his
Yeah,
day and
for
done a
sure.
lot of good.
Has Pete still racing? His son race still?
I think a little bit. Don't his son race a little
I think
bit?
his son is.
Just brand.
He
I know
did
that
once
was
or
one of
twice
Chad's
last year in
rivals.
Salina. I seen him, but you know, there's still a lot of them out there. It was a lot of fun. But
Java, could you get old Java on there?
Yeah, we'll get him on here. I'm trying to do because Jabba still runs here and there.
Right, I know.
And he's
but-
got kind of a social media presence.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to catch everyone up to all you guys that aren't, Tommy's on social media, so are you, but you don't have all your derby stuff posted. One thing I would like to do is actually get albums or do a page where he has a bunch of the old school pictures, like let's say Ron Heath, and you go and it shows all your old pictures. I think that'd be really cool. And then I also thought about, I haven't told
find
Bobby
that.
or anyone like that about this yet, but at some point we ought to have like a Derby Legends gathering and just have all of them meet and then have a mic. If someone wants to get up there and talk, they can. Or just to catch up, because I mean, it's cool, because I keep hearing more and more stories that I've never heard before, and that's awesome to me, because I'm kind of a history
Oh,
buff
no.
on the Derby world.
there's a lot of stories.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we're not hearing all the real
Well,
ones
you know,
either.
there's
you
always
heard a lot
those
of
tires and side tires.
Yeah.
Side tires.
And the piece of angle iron welded in the rim, so if you did lose your tire, and,
See, they know what they're talking
you
about.
know, and then you
No, because we've seen it on everybody else's car.
you put spot welds to hold your bead on better so it didn't come loose.
That was a
type
roar.
stuff.
Hey, listen to that.
Rorig had told me about that. I knew how he would weld a bead around it to where that tire would stay on even if it popped. Which Scott's pretty ingenuitive on a lot of that stuff.
yeah.
And we only have so much time for the show, so something like that would be neat to hear a lot more. And we can get you guys back on, if you think of more stuff, because it's pretty awesome. I think the younger generation likes hearing it too. So.
And I still say C-Ray and Hardy
That'd be a good
with
one.
some demo people that's,
Yeah.
one from Abilene, one from Salina, and,
We
them
could
guys
get-
that start, and I don't want to be here because they'll start talking too much.
Yeah,
But
we'll get you and Regina and C-Ray on and Hardy, right?
I'll help C-Ray and them guys.
I'll sit in the stands over here.
Yeah, that'll be fun. But,
Yeah.
no, we're probably running, you guys, anything else you want to go over?
No.
We're kind of done with the normal
I just,
questions.
thanks for having us.
Yes.
No, it's
I
awesome.
appreciate
Like I said,
that.
and like I said, our future, we can do whatever we want. Like once we get who we want to have on, I want to do like a deal where we have like a father-son show, like get you and Tyler, Slade, and Kyler, and Tommy, and Dave and his cat on, or I'm just kidding.
Cat. Yeah. Not a cat person. Sorry.
But no, and just
A parrot.
if you guys see people that want to come on, if there's any, old school Derby guys that want to come on the show, hit me up or hit the
She said
show
yeah.
up. So, what's that? So, but
Hey, we appreciate it.
yeah,
We do.
Oh, yeah.
it was an awesome.
I don't know about all that, but we had fun talking, or at least I did.
We always have fun when we get together.
Yeah,
And that's the thing is, we've always had fun.
and Chad offered to do it. We need to have because you can afford an old Crown Vic that runs. We'll have a bone stock show for all you legends.
Well, these guys won't be bone stock. How are we getting rid of that?
No, me and Dave are already cheating. We got new knees.
Tommy, you know more than anybody. They're not going to want weld on that new stuff.
Well, I've already done that, so it's
Let me see your arm. Yeah, for sure. He's welded on the new stuff.
I still got my welder. It's in the shed. I can still build one.
All right, we appreciate it
You guys
about
gonna
you
go to
guys.
sponsors?
Thanks,
It was
guys.
nice.
One more time, or
Yep. You go first.
I gotta go.
Me?
You go first.
All
I
right.
gotta go.
Well, okay.
I mean, always
Race Talk
think
Live, the Demo Derby version, proudly sponsored by Nate Dog Fabrication. Somebody sees Nate, get a hold of him.
yep.
Okay?
He's a
Jim
good
Klein,
guy.
Klein Oil, Delphus, Kansas. Jim's a fantastic sponsor of this show. Thanks for helping us out. Belleville High Banks Hall of Fame and National Midget Auto Racing Museum. Belleville, Kansas, 1204 H Street. Entries by free will donation. They are the local authorized Nance Raceware dealer. You could read this over there.
I could.
Kansas Auto Racing Museum, 1205 Manor Drive, Chapman, Kansas. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5. Admissions $5 for adults, $3 for children, 63 cents. Yeah. Slide Speedway. New night this year, 2841 South Burma Road, Salina, racing every Saturday night. Gates open at 5:30, Hot start at 7:15. Races start at 8. Hilljohn Graphics, 6924 East K4 Highway. Give them a call at 785-822-4536 for all your graphics needs. He designs and customizes signs, banners, demo numbers, hats, shirts, and more. Hilljohn Graphics. The home for Race Talk Live, District Eat and Play, located at 2259 South 9th Street, Central Mall. Salina, Kansas District Eat and Play is an amusement center with go-karts, bowling, arcade games, axe throwing, plus they have a full bar and restaurant. Eat, play, repeat. Your turn.
Real quick, you on the Slime Speedway deal, we start at 7:30 this year. So
Okay. Well, you gave me wrong information then.
I guess I did.
I'll fix it.
And there's
Sorry.
two nights this first weekend, man.
But yeah.
Yeah.
This is a special show this
That'll
I
be
know,
a
I
good
heard that
show.
on the radio already.
I'll have to say something about Salina Speedway. What I really liked once he took over, I like the other guy, I guess, but when he took over, they had the beer price at $4. And, this is when we come to watch. He brought it down to $2.50. And he's probably selling more beer and getting more people over there. We're like this guy, Brian Reef, I know, always snuck it in. But
Not naming names, right?
he made it better for people that drink
Where did he
beer.
sit?
And I quit, huh?
Where did he sit so they could check it?
But I congratulate them. Trying to do something to get the public there, and I think they probably do sell a little more beer and get more people there. And I'll give a guy credit where credit's due.
You still have the good greasy hamburgers?
We've got a good following with the crowd now. We're getting good
Been out
crowds.
there for a while.
Good rivals last
Trying
year
to make
too.
it better all the time.
Yeah.
Had good rivals last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think it'll be
Yeah,
good
that
this year
was
too.
That was a battle.
Robert.
Amanda West, State Farm Insurance Agent, located at 104 Northwest 15th Street in Abilene. Give her a call at 785-263-2230. CDDA, Championship Demolition Derby Association. They got a great schedule on tap for the summer. You can find out all the stuff on www.cddademo.com. So check that out. Of course, City Plumbing. If you need any work on
Anything you want to pay us to do, really. HVAC, plumbing.
chicken to call.
Whatever you don't want to do, get chicken to do it.
Well, yeah, I don't like attics and crawl spaces, but we'll do them. So.
Like snakes, though, don't you?
Yeah.
Bill Griggs, Kimball Midwest. Contact Bill for all your maintenance, repair, and operation needs. 785-713-2339. And Concordia Raceway, quarter-mile egg-shaped dirt track oval, 615 Industrial Road in Concordia, Kansas. Races this Sunday starting at 6 o'clock. So went to Play Day Sunday. They had a fantastic turnout for cars, and the track was great. So
I know, I was
looking
like,
forward to the summer over at
there's more than
Concordia
one
Raceway.
stall in
So
there.
check that out. BSB Manufacturing, give Jay a call at 620-326-3152 for any of your chassis needs. Jay will fix you up, shocks, springs, whatever. So, once again, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you,
Hey,
guys.
hey,
Thank
great
you.
show.
Appreciate it.
Thanks to VFW for fitting
Yep.
us in too.
That's a true story,
We're kinda-
VFW.
We're kind of on top of some other events here tonight, so Thanks.
Appreciate it.
This is kind of cozy over.
Yeah,
in the
for
corner.
sure. Bob keeps rubbing my leg.
No doubt. I got the same problem over here.
Yeah, Dave does.
Yeah, he still rubs mine too.
Hey, Tom, I don't know how we're going to get out.
I know I gotta use the restroom, but I'm going.
I'm not going under the table.
Thanks, everybody.
You been there
Thank you
before?
guys.
Yeah.
Dave was. He was under a pool table, though.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I was.
You've been fantastic guests. For Bobby Potts, Bill Gray, Justin. Bobby Potts.
That's
Justin,
chicken.
Bill
Chicken.
Gray, chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken, just say chicken. Everybody knows it was chicken because he's a chicken.
For sure.
He got it from his dad, Tap.
We'll see you at the race talk side in a couple weeks.
Appreciate y'all.
Have a
Thank you guys.